instruction coming from the minister to the national commissioner to us, and we are at all material times complying with the national commissioner's instruction to make sure that we push the handing over process.
Police have now confirmed that the son of the late former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe and his co-accused will appear in the Alexandra Magistrates Court on Monday. 29-year-old Bellarmine Mugabe and another unidentified suspect were arrested and charged with attempted murder yesterday after an employee at the Mugabe Hyde Park home was shot twice. The victim, a 23-year-old, was taken to hospital in a critical condition, and members of the Provincial Investigation Unit have been assigned to investigate the crime and continue their search for the firearm. Authorities have started filling dug trenches at a site in Springs where some residents were illegally mining for gold. Over the past week, a kraal in the Gugulethu informal settlement in Ekurhuleni has been at the heart of a mini gold rush following rumours of gold deposits in the ground. But there have been repeated crackdowns in that area by police who have described the activities as illegal. Tabiso Koba reports.
Front-loader trucks, TLBs and other specialized machinery have been deployed towards law enforcement authorities are calling an illegal mining site. The mission is to level the surface, clear the dumping spots and compact the soil in order to make it difficult for people to mine again in the area. On the sidelines, residents from the Gugulethu informal settlement watch on as their hopes of striking gold get buried under a thick pile of sand. One of those is Tembelani Mazaleni.
Many people are poorer because of this place closing down, because at least they were benefiting. Many people are unemployed here, so I don't know where they're going to get food from. Maybe they should start breaking into people's homes and steal.
Law enforcement authorities have warned the community members they will be arrested should they come back and start mining again. Tabiso Koba, Eyewitness News, Springs.
Cape Town dam levels are now sitting at 19% lower levels as compared to last year. City administrators have again urged residents to cut back on water use. MACO member for Water and Sanitation Zahid Bedruddin says while water usage has dropped this week compared to last week, it's still over the city's target set to manage water supply. Carlo Peterson has more.
Cape Town's dam storage levels stand at 57.2%. City MACO member for Water and Sanitation Zahid Bedruddin says this needs to last until the next seasonal rainfall cycle, and winter rains are expected much later than usual this year.
Once again, we've seen a decrease in our dam volumes that supply the city of Cape Town. This obviously remains a concern for us that water usage remains well above our allocation from the National Department of Water and Sanitation.
The city has urged residents to use less water to avoid breaching the limits implemented to manage supply.
Especially in our homes where we're using about 70% of our water allocation at the moment.
Bedruddin says while there's no immediate cause for concern, Cape Town's water supply should not be taken for granted. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
And in the U.S., an airport in Florida will soon be renamed after U.S. President Donald Trump. The move comes after a bill proposing the change was approved by the state's legislature. The airport renaming will also require the approval of the Federal Aviation Administration. It would then become the latest institution to be renamed after Trump. Trump has also sought to rename New York's Penn Station and Washington Dulles International Airport after himself. Gold is trading at $5,035.44 an ounce. The rand is at 16.09 to the dollar, 21.67 to the pound, 18.95 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $71.66 a barrel.
Well, at this stage, if you're traveling between Brakpan and Benoni, there's slow-moving traffic on Rangeview Road. This is between Dube and Tom Jones. Also, slow-moving traffic traveling, this is through the Bedfordview area, heading towards Alex. Slow-moving traffic, N3 northbound between the Galdenays Interchange and Gilulis. While in the Mother City, look out for those roadworks on the R300 northbound, approaching the N1 incoming.
It's a partly cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with isolated showers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 27 and 30 degrees, while Cape Town is fine with a moderate southerly wind at a high of 31 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya believes he is being punished for complying with instructions.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. You're with Mandy Wiener on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
On the show today, General Shadrack Sibiya is under cross-examination at the Midlanga inquiry. Robert Mugabe's son to appear in court for a Hyde Park shooting. Miners trapped at the Akapa mine in Kimberley, presumed dead. The ANC speaks on the flimsy coalition in Ekurhuleni. And it's Friday, so sports and good things too. All of that over the next hour.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app, DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. Good to be with you today. Yesterday, at the start of the show, we broke that news about the shooting at the former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe's family home in Hyde Park. We'll give you an update on that, developments in the past 24 hours or so. Another developing story. The Minister of Minerals and Petroleum Resources, Gwede Mantashe, is at the Akapa mine in Kimberley, and rescue teams there are continuing their urgent efforts to reach 5 mine workers trapped underground. There was a mud rush incident on Tuesday. The workers were stuck about 890 meters below the surface in Tunnel 6 for more than 3 days. It now seems as though they are being presumed dead. Gwede Mantashe in full mining gear out there today, having a look at the situation. Take a listen to what he said, in the sound is courtesy of Newsroom Africa.
Any accident that takes more than 4 lives, we describe that as a disaster. So here we have 5 people who are disappearing, who have not been found. Therefore, it's a potential disaster. I don't want to do presumption of death. I'm not competent to do that. But if 5 people die in one accident, that is a disaster. Now, what you should remember, we've just announced a record of 41 deaths in the industry for the year 2025. And we're starting this new year with a disaster, which is a bad sign for the industry. But we're here, we're hoping that those people will be rescued. We have gone underground. I can tell you that it's going to take longer than we expected. We can sugarcoat it to make people grow hope. But it's quite difficult because there's water this side, there's drilling happening, it's 20 meters above the body, and it is just a complex exercise. But what is important is that the mining company is more focused now on rescuing those people. To us, that is a takeaway.
Mineral and Petroleum Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe saying that the De Beers Consolidated Mines is to blame for the mudslide disaster that left 5 workers trapped underground at the Akapa mine in Kimberley. That sound courtesy of Newsroom Africa. And we'll keep following that story as well as work continues to try and rescue those 5 mine workers, although it does now seem as though they are being presumed dead.
702.
702.
Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays 12 to 1 p.m.
At the Midlanga Commission today, the suspended Deputy National Police Commissioner Shadrack Sibiya under cross-examination. He's been saying consistently all week that he believes that he is the victim of a conspiracy, that there is a targeted campaign against him. Today, he says that he believes that he's being punished for complying with instructions. Oren Singh, EWN reporter, on that story for us. Oren, good afternoon to you. Take us through some of the questions that Shadrack Sibiya has been facing.
Morning, Mandy. Well, the large chunk of this morning's testimony has been based on the disbandment of the PKTT. And obviously they had this implementation plan of how they were going to go about disbanding the unit. And it was struck up by all these generals that had been involved, Dumisani Khumalo, the head of crime intelligence, as well as Shadrach Sibiya, the police minister, the national commissioner. They all sat in together and they came up with this plan of how they were going to go about disbanding this unit. And it was going to be done in a phased out approach. And Shadrach Sibiya has been accused, with the evidence leaders and the commissioners looking at previous testimony from the likes of Senzo Mkunu and Dumisani Khumalo, has been accused of acting beyond instruction and sort of taking his own line in terms of working to disband this political killings task team, issuing out instructions that weren't given to him by the National Police Commissioner and going above and beyond what this implementation plan in disbanding the unit actually contained.
And what kind of tone is the commission taking with him? Because we've discussed this in the past that he's obviously on the back foot. He does get quite he responds quite strongly to any kind of criticism. He does feel as though he has been accused. How's he been faring?
Yeah, I think the evidence leaders are getting frustrated. It's starting to wear in on them a bit. As well, while the evidence leader, Advocate Adila Hassim, as well as the commissioners and the co-commissioners, they're starting to be frustrated because of their line of questioning is quite direct in terms of what they're putting to Shadrach Sibiya, but he seems to not answer their questions directly and seems to go on a bit of a tangent, going off onto other things. And quite often they have to instruct him that, no, General, we've asked you this. Like, can you answer the question? They're very specific on certain dates. He's unable to remember dates, and I can understand. Yes, it's been a year ago, and maybe some of your digital devices have been taken. You don't have access to your emails, so forth. But you should have prepared coming into this commission. You should have had those dates on hand, knowing that on this date this was done, this date this was done, and so forth. So he's getting caught off guard quite a bit, and the co-commissioners are getting a little bit frustrated with him not being able to answer their questions directly.
Well, let's listen in there live now to what's happening as Shadrach Sibiya faces cross-examination.
With previous witnesses that you went ahead and implemented, gave instructions, this whole debate about moving all these PKTT matters to General Sintumule. Remember, we looked at that letter yesterday in the first paragraph where you say with immediate effect. And you continued to give instructions. You have repeatedly said, I acted on the National Commissioner's instruction as communicated to me through Litoko, which is the normal way in which we communicate. Now, all I'm putting to you, or that I'm discussing with you, is that SS9 doesn't instruct you or even authorize you to implement a deactivation of the PKTT. All it does on a reading, simple reading of it, it says you must communicate the minister's decision and then to the relevant team, and which you do by informing General Khumalo, and then it says submit a close-up report by the 14th of January for the National Commissioner to consider and sign off to the minister. That's all it says. So you could not have been relying on SS9 to implement with immediate effect the deactivation of the PKTT.
May I respond, Chair?
Yes.
When we read SS9, can we also take it along with SS10? The very next page, which is page 200. Meaning, all I did.
So which part? There are two emails.
There are two
SS10.
emails.
Which one do you want us? Because the first one, the bottom one is a repeat of SS9.
No.
And then there's the top one from Afinand. Which one do you want us to look at? And which one are you speaking to?
This the one of SS10.
Yes, I'm saying, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you rudely. I just want clarification. There are two emails on SS10 at page 200. Which one do you want us to take into account when we read SS9?
What I want to demonstrate here, Chair, with respect, is that here is an instruction that comes from the National Commissioner that says, as directed, DNC is requested to accordingly communicate the deactivation to the relevant team. Now, the same email, and this was on the 3rd of January 2025, 1407. Now, the same email was sent now on the 7th of January 2025, at 11:22, from Colonel Afenant, and then Colonel Afenant is in my office.
Shadrach Sabir there taking questions from the commissioners at the Madlanga inquiry about the disbandment of the political killings task team.
702, the Midday Report, Monday to Friday.
12 to 1 p.m.
The son of former Zimbabwean President Robert Mugabe is due to appear in the Alexandra Magistrates Court, it looks like on Monday now, to face charges of attempted murder. Bellarmine Mugabe, 29 years old, and another unidentified suspect were taken in for questioning yesterday following that shooting at a plush property in Hyde Park. Well, let's speak now to Dumisani Muleya, who's the chairperson of the Zimbabwe National Editors Forum. Dumisani, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. What has the Zimbabwean media reaction been to this story? Is it still something that that takes a lot of interest in Zim?
Yeah. It sparked a lot of interest, but the Zimbabwean media was largely taking a lead from the South African media. As soon as the story broke out, Zimbabwean media latched onto it and started following it through the South African media. But of course, the Zimbabwean media is more background than the South African media about the Mugabe family, the children, and the activities of the arrested guy, Bellarmine, Chatunga Mugabe. So they started putting a lot more background to say there's nothing new really to this. It has been their way of behavior. Systematically, they've been behaving like that. But obviously, the difference is that this appears to be a more serious case than many other similar cases they were involved in before.
Give us some context here. Tell us about Bellarmine Mugabe and what kind of incidents he's been involved in the past.
Well, I think I'll just quickly maybe run down first quickly, if it is possible, in terms of the time. You see, the thing is, Grace Mugabe is public information, but it's important for the context. She was married to some Air Force guy before Mugabe came into the scene. So she came into the marriage with a firstborn son, Russell, born in 1984, and then she started having children with Mugabe. So there's a lady there, Bona Mugabe, born 88, and then there's another one, Robert Jr., born 92. Then there is Bellarmine, born 96. So he's born, the guy arrested is born the year when Mugabe wedded Grace, and that was a big wedding attended by former Mozambican President Chissano, former South African President Mandela, and others. So he's born in those circumstances. And then, of course, when they grow up, the age between Grace and Mugabe was huge, at least 42 years. So you see, he's born of a president who was very old at the time, and they are very, very young compared to the age of the president in relation to the marriage. So what I'm trying to say is that the father didn't have a grip on them when they were young, because he was already president, he was old, busy with other things. He didn't have a grip on them. So
and the way you describe also, Dumisani, is that he's been involved in other incidents with the family. This is the kind of the behavior that you would expect of them.
Yes, yeah, because they've been doing these things, like, last year, Bellarmine, he was involved in assaulting a policeman somewhere in Zimbabwe when he was coming from Joburg driving to South Africa. He was involved in an attack on some 3 guards at a mine in Mazowe, just 40 kilometers out of Harare. He has been involved in one incident that I was made aware of at a similar house, the Hyde Park house, that there was some gun incident late last year, I think, at that house. But that thing was quickly resolved out of the media publicity. So if you look at that, and then you take his brother, Robert Jr., he has been involved in some drug dealing stuff, trying to sell gold, nightclub brawls. There are many incidences. And the way they used to stay in Sandton at some penthouse in down Morningside, people who used to live there, they would tell you that there was always fights and many other things, drunken incidents of violence and so on. So it's a pattern of behavior by these guys, primarily because they are protected. They come from a family that was powerful. They are protected. They have a lot of money.
Where does the money come from, Dumisani?
You know, it comes from the family because, you know, in Africa, when people are in power, they always find a way of making money. By legitimate means or illicit means, they always have the money. So clearly, they've always had money. No doubt. I mean, if you just look at the idea that within Sandton area, they were staying like on the West Road South part of it. They went to buy a house in Sandhurst here. They bought a house in Hyde Park. And obviously, by no means, those are the only properties. So that already tells you that the kind of life they were living with, champagne lifestyle. I mean, in the nightclubs there were regular features, some of the biggest spenders in Joburg you could find. So the kind of life. And look at the people even who came at the house yesterday. Look at those guys who were there first on the scene. If you just follow that trail, then you know what kind of guys you're dealing with.
Dumisani, fascinating background and insight there. Dumisani Muleya, chairperson of the Zimbabwean National Editors Forum, giving us some context, some understanding there on the WhatsApp line. Hi, Mandy. These young adults, the Mugabe kids, need some jail time and some community service and definitely some therapy. They sound like clueless, spoiled brats. Zimbabwe is still suffering from their parents' leadership. Sure, fascinating to get that context there. Thanks very much.
On average, you'll spend 83,200 hours working. That's 3,466 days. 20% of that time will be spent in meetings that should have been emails. 10% spent aligning on the misalignment the previous meeting caused. And the rest of the time, waiting for your laptop to update so you can resend that extremely urgent presentation due yesterday because your boss forgot to download it 2 weeks ago. And now, the link has expired. Oh, life taxes you. So invest tax-free from as little as 250 Rand per month.
Coronation. Trust is earned. Coronation is an authorized FSP.
This message is brought to you by Eskom, redefining for a better future.
Hey South Africa, want to keep your lights on and save money? Let's use electricity wisely. It's easier than you think. Switch off lights when you leave a room, unplug chargers and appliances, and use energy-saving bulbs. They last longer and use less power. Every little bit helps for your home, your wallet, and our planet.
Let's make it a habit and use electricity wisely. Eskom.
The Checkers Extravaganza is now on with over 1,500 deals every week. Like Bacoma Wheat Bix 900 grams for $54.99. Lancewood Cheddar or Gouda Cheese 900 grams for $129.99 each. And Baby Soft 2-ply white toilet rolls or quilts 9 per pack. Any two for 129 Rand. Valid until 22 February 2026. Only at Checkers, Checkers Hyper, or shop on 6060.
Amidst global uncertainty, Africa offers opportunities. At the African Markets Conference 2026, decision makers from across Africa and the world will explore how policy reform, market development, and private capital can accelerate sustainable growth across the continent at scale. Learn more at standardbank.co.za/CIB. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
Dumelang Mandy and team, Kingsley from Germiston. So there's a shootout at former President Mugabe's family home or his son's home. A family member of his has been arrested. And, you know, if you listen to the description given by Aaron Singh of this massive luxury property in Hyde Park, I mean, that only serves to increase the ire of South Africans, especially given the illegal immigration problem that we have in this country. By the way, asking for a friend, has Gwede Mantashe apologized for his ridiculous, insulting remarks that he made about the youth of this country?
I think he apologized, if I remember correctly. Those very controversial comments he made about unemployment and young people. That's obviously in relation to the fact that we played some audio earlier about from Gwede Mantashe speaking at the Ikapa mine in Kimberley, where those miners are trapped. Thanks very much for those WhatsApp voice notes. The Chief Justice, the Office of the Chief Justice, has issued a statement around the controversy around Judge Pachlane. Now, you'll remember that Judge Pachlane was the one who was accused of corruption, Judge Portia Pachlane. She's been barred from entering the High Court in Pretoria. And this is to do with the Jerusalem faction of the International Pentecostal Church. Remember, there were suggestions that she had ruled in a particular manner. So there's a development in that story now that a complaint has been laid. Let's understand this with Mbeki Benjamin, researcher from Judges Matter. Mbeki, good afternoon to you. Thanks very much for your time. The Office of the Chief Justice now confirming that a complaint has been laid by Aubrey Dwaba, who is the judge president, against Judge Pachlane. Tell us about this.
Good afternoon, Mandy, and good afternoon to the listeners. Yes, the Judicial Service Commission has confirmed that a complaint has been filed by Judge President and by Acting Judge President Lidwaba, and he's doing so in his capacity as the head of court. Because you'll recall, Mandy, we spoke about this in November when the allegations against Judge Pachlane came out. We as Judges Matter came out quite clearly to say the Judicial Service Commission has two options. One, they can follow a long route in that they wait for a complaint and then it goes through the processes of the JSC, or they can follow a shorter route, which is that they proceed without a complaint. And the law does allow them to do this. In December, though, the JSC met and decided that they can't proceed without a complaint. So they will follow the longer route, which requires that the head of court must file a complaint. And so they told Judge Lidwaba to file the complaint, and that complaint is under process right now. So what will happen with the complaint, it will go to the Judicial Conduct Committee, and the Judicial Conduct Committee must receive statements. And they say the statements are due next week, both from the judge and from Judge Lidwaba as the complainant. And then they will, the JCC, the Conduct Committee, will then make a recommendation for the appointment of a tribunal, which will follow the process that was followed in the Mbenenge case.
And how important is this from a precedent perspective? It's not often that we've had a judge being accused of corruption like this, if at all.
Yes, it's the very first time that we've had a complaint of corruption against a judge, and so that alone is a precedent. But we think that the JSC's decision to follow the longer process is actually it prolongs the complexity of this because Judge Lidwaba now is a complainant, but he will also have to come back and testify as a witness. And that already complicates the matter. And so the precedent is being made and being shaped almost on a daily basis as these proceedings go ahead.
Thank you so much for explaining this, Mbeki Benjamin, researcher at Judges Matter, explaining to us that complaint against Judge Pachlane and what the process will be. 12:31, time for Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Mandy. Good afternoon. The Judicial Conduct Committee will be investigating a complaint against corruption-accused Judge Portia Pahlane. The complaint was lodged by Aubrey Ledwaba, the acting judge president of the Pretoria High Court. It follows the arrest of Pahlane and his son on corruption charges. Authorities have started filling dug trenches at a site in Springs where some residents were illegally mining for gold. Over the past week, a kraal in the Gugulethu informal settlement in Ekurhuleni has been at the heart of a mini gold rush following rumours of gold deposits in the ground. But there have been repeated crackdowns in that area by the police, who have described the activities as illegal. And the ANC's parliamentary whip Mdumiseni Ntuli is cracking down on MPs who don't spend enough time on the ground campaigning, especially in the Western Cape. Ntuli says the parliamentary programme will be reworked in order to allow them to spend less time in Parliament and more time in communities, because it is an election year. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 1 or as it happens.
EWN Sport.
Good afternoon, I'm Anthony Teixeira. The group stage of the T20 Cricket World Cup will conclude this afternoon as the exiting Australians and Oman will be meeting. Well, the Proteas will start their Super 8 Sunday against India. They also have Zimbabwe and the West Indies in their group, made up of the remaining unbeaten sides in the competition. The ICC has defended the move to pre-seed teams, saying it was necessary to manage venues, scheduling and logistic challenges over hosting the tournament across India and Sri Lanka. Here's Zimbabwe's assistant coach and batting coach Dion Ibrahim on the expectations they have.
Hugely excited at the chance to play in the Indian conditions. I think it's going to be matches that are defined by power, and those that can control the boundaries and those that can access the boundaries. So I'm most excited to see what our team is capable of performing in those conditions.
Well, day 3 lunch of the 4-day final sees the Lions all out for 295, trailing the Warriors by 10 runs. In football, Nedbank last 16 will kick off this evening between Richards Bay and Amazulu. Other selected fixtures for the weekend will have TS Galaxy against Mamelodi Sundowns, Orlando Pirates face off against Casrick Stars, Stellenbosch travel to Golden Arrows. All selected Premier League matches will have Man City hosting Newcastle, Liverpool head to Nottingham Forest. Sunday's a big clash in the evening is the North London derby when Spurs tackle leaders Arsenal. In rugby, the Lions and Sharks will be targeting victory in the United Rugby Championship as they both look to keep their top 8 hopes alive when they meet Saturday afternoon. While in the Six Nations, log leaders of France will only play Sunday against Italy, which gives Ireland, England and Scotland a chance to put some pressure on them and close the gap. The English and Irish meet Saturday at 4:10. After that, the Scots head to Wales. And in tennis, the Qatar Open semi-finals has Carlos Alcaraz against Andrei Rublev this afternoon, while Arthur Fils is up against Jacob Mensik. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you're heading through Bedford View, there's slow-moving traffic. That's on the N3 northbound between the Galdenes interchange and Gilulis, also in the Brakpan Benoni area. Expect some delays on Rangeview Road between Tom Jones and Dube Street. There's also a slow-moving traffic. This is in the Mother City due to roadworks on the R300 northbound. That's heading into the N1. There's also a broken down truck. This is on the R300 southbound, slowing down traffic approaching the N2. Also expect heavy delays on Victoria Road. That's driving through Camps Bay. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car full of groceries and a lady who will be attempting to make her mother-in-law's famous recipe for the family dinner tonight.
5 mils of sugar.
The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's butterflies and a potential bonding moment. Every story is different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Mzansi, Powerball and Powerball Plus are bringing the excitement with 75 million rand in total guaranteed jackpots this Friday. Don't delay. Play Powerball for a guaranteed 50 million rand and Powerball Plus for the guaranteed 25 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old to play responsibly. E2 is a proud operator of the National Lottery.
Are you looking for the best spectacle and sunglass deal? With Specsavers buy one get one offer, you get great value for money. Get a free pair of branded single vision prescription sunglasses up to 3,300 Rand when you purchase a comprehensive eye examination and spectacle frames with lenses on your first pair. The best part? Choose from top brands like Police, Hugo, Under Armour, Tommy Hilfiger, Red Bull Spect and more. Affordable eye care? Specsavers. T's and C's apply.
The stage, the lights, the crowd, everything's perfect until suddenly someone slips on the dance floor. A speaker lands in the buffet. In an instant, your masterpiece is a mess. That's why Auto & General is there with Events Liability Insurance. We handle the unexpected so you don't have to. Plan the party, wow the guests, leave the rest to us. For more information on Events Liability Insurance, visit autogen.co.za. Auto & General, never not there. Auto & General is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's and C's online.
WhatsApp Mandy
on 072 702 1702.
Good day, Mandy. This is Patrick from Soweto. Mandy, let us see our law enforcement working. Let us see the political will. Let us see accountability. That guy must be arrested, be deported to his own country. He must be deported, Mandy. No one is above the law. The law enforcement must act decisively at this time. No one is above the law. Thank you, Patrick in Soweto.
Hi, Mandy. Simon here from Centurion. Quick one. There's a report on social media that the gun that was used on these latest incidents was not secured. It's gone missing. Is it true, or is it just something that is just circulating and there's no basis on it? Thanks.
Yes, Mandy, the Mugabe's children, it is in their veins. If you can, they take it from their father and their mother. If you can recall, even their mother, Grace, was charged here in South Africa for assault, but she did evade that because of what? Money. It was really like that. People with money, they'll do whatever they want, and they'll get away with it. Even now, they can't find the gun. Why? The gun is there. They must find the gun. If without the gun, there is no case.
I have a Grace Mugabe story that I don't think I've told. Hey, Palisa, have you ever heard the story? When that whole incident with the plug and the abuse happened, I had to go to the Garden City Hospital as a reporter to go and try and interview her. And she walked past me and she wagged her finger in my face and she said, "I will beat you." I forgot about that. I will beat you. That's my Grace Mugabe story. On the WhatsApp line. Good day, Mandy in 702. Where is the 29-year-old Mugabe guy working to be affording this luxury? Children of African leaders have lots of money, including those of the Mantashes. I wonder where they went to look for jobs that we do not go so that we can have money like they do. Thank you very much for all of those messages coming through.
702, the Midday Report, Monday to Friday.
12 to 1 p.m.
12:39 on the Midday Report with me, Mandy Wiener. FEDUSA is leading a public sector protest against GEMS, the government medical scheme. Public servants protesting against what it's calling exorbitant increases in the medical aid scheme that's compulsory and subsidised by the government. Sean McClannery is from the FEDUSA Public Service Committee and joins us now. Sean, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. What is the concern with GEMS and the increases?
Good afternoon, Mandy. Mandy, perhaps if I can just put it into context, in 2025, GEMS increased their member subscriptions by 13.4%. This year, they've increased it by 9.8%. With effect from January, it's going down. It's marginally at 9.5%. But the main concern is it's multifaceted, if I can put it this way. But there's obviously concerns from organised labour side with the running of GEMS. But our primary concern is obviously how it affects our members. The increase, on average, it's if you take the last 2 years into account, it's in excess of 23%. Last year, public servants received a salary increase of 5.5%. This year, it's going to be 4%. So the increase in the GEMS subscriptions far outweighs any wage adjustment that members are enjoying. At the moment, our members are dealing with rising food price. notwithstanding the fact that we're enjoying a relatively low inflation rate this last year, but the food price index continues to rise disproportionately. We know what's happening with the price of fuel. Transport is increasing on a daily basis. The increase places a massive pressure on an already pressurized household debt scenario for many public servants. And the medical aid for members, it consumes a large proportion of their salary, and there's a growing gap or growing reduction because of these increases in terms of members' take-home pay. And the situation, unfortunately, for our members and public service, it's not sustainable, and it's quite simply not fair. It undermines the very purpose of what GEMS, or Government Employee Medical Scheme, was introduced.
A memorandum of demands handed over. What are amongst some of the demands of FEDUSA?
If I can perhaps be fairly explicit in terms of the demands. Obviously, our primary demand is the immediate withdrawal of the 9.5% increase that's being implemented on 1st of February to be replaced with something more appropriate. We're looking for full financial transparency, including operational budgets, outsourcing contracts, and executive remuneration. And perhaps if I could just unpack that demand. GEMS has been in creation now for 20 years. It outsources all its administration to a service provider. And we need information that comes at an excessive cost. The financial records are not transparent. GEMS itself was a creation of a resolution or a collective agreement passed in the Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Council. And the remuneration of the executives of GEMS is way above government service employees' salaries. If you take senior management service, for example, and I think I wouldn't be wrong in saying that the remuneration of the principal officer of GEMS is way in excess of the state president of this country. So we also, in that vein, we're looking for an independent forensic audit into this governance, into the procurement, into the administrative expenditures.
Right.
We would require a review of the outsourcing, the administrative cost drivers, and in particular, the one concern is the entry level of the GEMS medical scheme, what's known as Tanzanite. This was an option that was specifically designed for lower income earners in the public service, and GEMS have unilaterally increased by a disproportionate sum the subscriptions to that. So as a result, you've got lower level workers that would enjoy good healthcare at private institutions. Now, if they want to continue with that at a private institution, they would be having to pay massive down payments or going to public health institutions.
Right.
Sure.
Sean, I'm sorry, we have to leave it there, unfortunately. Sean McGladdery is FEDUSA Public Service Committee member speaking to us there about the protest against what it's calling exorbitant increases in the GEMS medical aid scheme.
7:02.
The Midday Report with Mandy Wiener.
Let's walk the talk.
So we know the situation in Ekurhuleni has been somewhat rocky. The EFF announcing its withdrawal from the coalition on Wednesday this week. Action SA also saying it's not part of the coalition. Ekurhuleni saying that the situation is stable. What does the ANC have to say about it? Tabiso Goba, EWN reporter, joining us now. Tabiso, good afternoon to you. What is the ANC saying about Ekurhuleni?
There is no crisis, Mandy. That's what the ANC is saying. Good afternoon. As you know, Mandy, that the ANC in Ekurhuleni is one of the major parties, or the biggest political parties here in Ekurhuleni. And as we said, that recently the EFF pulled out of the coalition with the ANC. This came after the mayor, Dr. Kagaza, who's also an ANC member, announced a reshuffle of his mayoral committee. And in that reshuffle of his mayoral committee, he removed 2 EFF MMCs, and the EFF went from 4 MMCs to 2 MMCs. And the EFF obviously said, this was obviously undermining it and wasn't a respect of the coalition agreement that the ANC and the EFF entered into in 2023. And I do have to say that, Mandy, when these parties sort of entered into the coalition in 2023, they each had 5 seats each. The EFF had 5 MMCs and the ANC had 5 MMCs. And after the last reshuffling, the ANC had 5 MMCs and the EFF had only 2. So obviously the EFF saw this as a bit of disrespect. But what we've heard today from the media conference, which was chaired by Jongizizwe Dlabati, the ANC's regional secretary, he said that the 2023 arrangement of the ANC and the EFF having the equal number of MMCs was a mistake because the EFF doesn't have that enough number of votes in this council to be equal to the ANC. And there is a bit of truth in that, Mandy, in terms of the fact that in the last elections, the ANC got 38% of the vote and the EFF got only 13%. So Jongizizwe Dlabati is saying that that arrangement that we entered into, where we have equal sharing power, was also abnormal, and at some point we had to correct that. And in the matter of Action SA, Mandy, there was something interesting that Jongizizwe Dlabati said, in that you remember that Xolani Khumalo, the Action SA's mayoral candidate here in Ekurhuleni, he was announced as an MMC for bylaw enforcement, and it was obviously an agreement that Action SA will join the coalition here for the ANC. What the ANC has told us is that the Action SA actually pulled out at the last minute of joining the coalition. This was because there was threats from the EFF saying that if Action SA does join this coalition, then the EFF is going to go to Tshwane and remove the mayor, Nasiphi Moya, from Tshwane. So that's what spooked Action SA into not joining this coalition here in Ekurhuleni. And I do have to say, obviously, these are just fresh allegations. I have reached out to both the EFF and Action SA for a response on these allegations that the reason they didn't join this coalition in Ekurhuleni is because there were threats that if they do join it, then in Tshwane, Nasiphi Moya would be removed as the mayor.
That's really interesting, Thabiso. Thank you so much, Thabiso Goba, EWN reporter at that ANC press conference on the situation in Ekurhuleni.
Alcohol drowns our hope and fuels our pain. Our streets are flooded. Our families are breaking. Women and children are not safe. Alcohol kills 100 people in South Africa every day. For more information, visit www.truecostofalcohol.africa. Increase excise tax on alcohol.
I'm Dealer here with more than just a betting app ad. Download the 10Bet app and enjoy the action of betting anytime, anywhere. It's more than just an app. It's a 10Bet experience. Join now at 10bet.co.za. 10Bet is a licensed betting operator and supports responsible gambling. No person under the age of 18 shall be permitted to bet. Betting can be addictive. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line is 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. There's a car with a parent and a nervous but excited kid practicing her lines to put on a show-stopping performance at the school play. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic, it's a future superstar on the move. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Sports Wrap.
Sports Wrap
With Tolakele Mganga.
Tolakele Mganga joining us in studio today. Okay, we're down to the Super 8s in the T20 Cricket World Cup. We've got a pretty tough group and we play India this weekend.
Absolutely, but Mandy, more importantly, Australia played their final game of the tournament today.
That is such a nothing burger, that game.
It will be one for the haters because after decades, let's admit it, Australia have been a superpower. I think even going into the Ashes, England had said this is the weakest Australia team that they've had in years, but they ended up retaining the Ashes. For there to be a T20 World Cup, we're looking towards the knockout stages and Australia not to be there. I think it's going to be one of those years for them, or maybe the next few years, where a rebuild will be required to see where they go from here. Because even the fact that when you lost a key player in Mitchell Marsh, you're recalling Steve Smith, who at 36, is that really the future? So there is a lot of work to do for them, but also for the ICC, where we're sitting here and we're talking about the seeding and how your strongest teams are all in one pool, and come the latter stages of the tournament, there are so many of the big teams that won't be involved in that. But for South Africa, the action is concentrated on Sunday. We are taking on India. Yes, we did lose a warm-up to them, but I'd rather lose the warm-up and win in the competition, so that way we can prepare ourselves nicely to beat them again in the final.
Let's hope. Nedbank Cup last 16?
Yes, Kaizer Chiefs supporters will not be watching this tournament, of course, because Stellenbosch were the ones to beat them in the first round of the competition. Stallies this time around taking on Golden Arrows. Then other games to look forward to include TS Galaxy up against Mamelodi Sundowns. I think that's definitely the game of the round when you think about the fact that TS Galaxy are previous winners of this competition. Miguel Cardoso's had a wonderful 2 results, having been under pressure this time last week. He beat MC Alger to progress to the quarterfinals of the CAF Champions League. And then in the league, they've given themselves that hand up by making sure that they beat Orlando Pirates. So they'll be looking to continue that momentum by beating TS Galaxy. And then Orlando Pirates are in action against Castrick Stars.
North London derby this weekend.
How are you feeling, man? Let us into your thinking.
How many have we lost in a row?
I mean, it's Arsenal. Arsenal are struggling at the moment. The rest of the league will be expecting you guys to pull off a miracle. Surprise us. Just surprise us so the title race can be. And you have a new manager. You can use the new manager bounce. Believe in your team, Mandy. 5 games ago, I didn't believe in my team. Look where we are now.
Yeah, look at you now. Look at you now.
A new manager can do a lot, but that's definitely the game of the round. Arsenal having dropped points 2 games in a row. It's now a 5-point difference between them and Manchester City. I think if you looked at the league in December, you'd have said Arsenal definitely hands-on to win it. But this is kind of what you want. You don't want to spend the next 3-4 months like making it obvious in terms of who's going to win this competition. So for the Premier League, it's heating up nicely. Everton up against Manchester United is on Monday. That North London derby is on Sunday. Then we also have action again tomorrow with Chelsea up against Burnley. Of course, with Burnley, there's always that South African interest because of Lyle Foster, who plays for the team.
Tolokele, thank you so much. Tolokele Mganga having a look at the weekend sport.
Good things.
Good things.
With Brent Lindeke.
Brent Lindeke, the good things guy, wrapping up the week for us as always. Brent, happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Nans, and happy Friday to all the 702 and Cape Talk listeners. I love Fridays. I get to bring you some good news.
I know. I love Fridays too. Tell us about Joburg's blind football commentators, how they're redefining sport and inclusion.
So this is such a fascinating story for many reasons. The first being the actual sport. So to think about blind football, we had to sort of dig deep to get the story behind it. But what happens is all of these players wear masks because they all have different levels of visual impairment. And then the ball's actually got a bell on it so that they can follow the ball. And they've got people that are around the pitch that help guide them so that can see. And sort of if there's anywhere that they need to go or need to do, they can sort of lead them in the right direction. But 2 brothers who are blind, Sibusiso and Mduduzi, they were listening to commentators when the football was on radio. And they decided that this sport needed commentators too. So the way that they do it is these guides who can see on the side of the pitch, they've got Bluetooth headsets and they feed the information to the commentators, and then these 2 brothers commentate what's actually happening on the field. And that idea, this incredible thing that they've come up with, has actually given these 2 brothers an opportunity to go to the World Cup in the United States this May to commentate on the blind football teams there. So it's just an incredible story all round.
Wow, that's so interesting. Sure, that's really, really interesting. Tell us about a sticky note left years ago in the UK, which became a powerful full circle moment for a South African mum.
So I got to interview this mom, Mandy Tyra. She'd gone over to the UK to support both her kids who are in the theatre and who have actually been in the news here in South Africa. Jared Nurden, incredibly talented, and Tyler, his sister, are both musical theatre kids. They're sort of on shows in the UK, travelling around Europe. And when Tyler, the daughter, arrived in the UK 3 years ago, she stuck sticky notes all around sort of the area that she was living in to try, inspire and motivate people around her. She was going through a really tough time being in a different country. sort of taking on this responsibility of being in theatre, this big move in her career, and she was feeling it. So she thought, let me take those feelings and help other people, recalibrating the universe and being kinder to others. Fast forward 3 years later, Tyler is on tour in Europe, and Mandy made her way to go to one of Jared's shows earlier this week. And while she was in one of the areas in the UK, needed the bathroom. She walked into the one loo. It didn't work. She had to go upstairs and into a mall. And eventually she got to a woman's bathroom, and she walked into a cubicle, closed the door, and she found one of her daughter's sticky notes on the door that just said, "Be proud of how far you've come." And for Mandy, traveling alone to a different country, going to support her kids, it was almost like that note was written just for her. But when she sat there and sort of stood and looked at the writing, she realized that it was very familiar. And she took a picture, sent it to her daughter, and her daughter couldn't believe that her notes were still there, or one of the notes, and still inspiring people randomly. Her mother, which is just a crazy story.
No way, that's amazing. What a cool story. And Brent, tell us about the amputee cyclist who's ridden hundreds of kilometers.
So Piet Neertling is a South African who tragically was in a hijacking a couple of years ago, and he lost his right arm. A way to heal and to sort of, I don't want to say get back on the bike, but to heal this tragic thing that he'd been through, he got into cycling. And recently he decided that he was going to take on a big cycle from Port Elizabeth to Cape Town, and he wanted to raise funds and awareness for disability inclusion. But along this journey and sort of being in this space, he got to know a young South African who was born and lost both his legs when he was really, really young due to meningitis. His name is Ubuku. Ubuku is now 17 years old, and he needs to be fitted with brand new prosthetics due to his growth. So Piet's taken on this ride, and he's broadened it to actually raise funds for Ubuku so that he can get those new prosthetics. Sure. And the good story here is that South Africans are rallying in and donating to the cause, which is just so beautiful to see as well.
Brent, thank you so much for always bringing us the good news and just telling us incredible stories today.
Thank you very much to you guys and all of the listeners. We love that you tune into this little feature. As I say every Friday, wishing you only good things.
Only good things. Brent Lindeque, the good things guy.
Psst. Hey, no longer feeling like the man you used to be? The man who's the life of the party even when he doesn't attend. The fact is, 95% of men with low testosterone go untreated. Vitamin High Performance Supplements for men helps recharge energy, regain lean muscle, and reload performance. Available at all good pharmacies and Vitamin.co.za. Vitamin. Don't get older. Get better.
The average person will hear their boss say, quick one, 3,476 times during their life. And it's never a quick one. In fact, it's a very long one that forces you to cancel your anniversary dinner at the restaurant with the Michelin star chef and then work through the weekend only to arrive on Monday and be told that the client has decided to go in a different direction. Life taxes you, so invest tax-free from as little as 250 Rand per month.
Coronation. Trust is earned. Coronation is an authorized FSP.